second. All right, so let's talk about this. And this is one of those videos that I'm going to be making sure that we have it out there for you in case you forget, right? So after the class, probably soon after the class, it's going to be put on our YouTube page. So what we're going to talk about today, though, is we're going to talk about, well, what do you do? What are your plans? What's going on? What's your goal in order to make things happen, right? And so basically, when we talk about that, we're going to talk about here you are, by state law, you have to do your 60 hours of class, right? You have to do your 60 hours and you have to pass my final. So what do we do? Where do we go from here? And I'm going to do some screen sharing. I'm going to go over this with you so that you feel comfortable knowing what you need to do from here. So usually, now there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. Number one, as a reminder, you have to make sure that you're keeping a log of your classes. If you're not keeping a log of your classes, then you, my friend, don't know where you stand. You don't have your target. So make sure every class you come to, you're writing down and you're making sure that you're here on time and you stay the whole class so that we don't have a problem with you making sure you have your 60 hours if there was an audit done, right? I mean, it's on you to make sure that you have come to each class and you've been here for their full 2 hours. So that's number one. Now, once you get to about 50, 55 hours, you can start thinking about things. You could be thinking, all right, so here I am. I'm almost done with the class. What do I need to do? Well, one thing in addition to your 60 hours is you have to pass our class final, right? And it's pretty darn hard. Now, there are two options. Oh, man, what are you talking about, Rob? Yep, you heard me. There's two options in order to pass my class final. And so let's go over these, right? Let's talk about what these two options are so that you feel comfortable knowing what you need to do, okay? So let's go right through them. So first of all, two options to take the class final. Right? Now, one of the things I strongly suggest is to make sure that you are really going through your book. So, for example, here's the yellow book, right? And I know here on the back, and you have it in the electronic version as well, is you have a couple of different practice exams. There's a couple of different sample exams. And the same thing with the red book. You have a couple. So you should be able to know, okay, you know what, Rob, here I am. I've been taking these classes and I am ready to get to the next step. Now, I'm going to tell you something that some of you might get a little mad, right? Some of you like, oh, I didn't sign up for all this. I didn't know this guy, he was going to be like this. Well, I can tell you, yes, this is how I am. I am that person that I don't believe in trying. Don't bother. If you say, well, I want to try and see how I do. Don't bother. Forget it. Trying means what? Nothing. You do it. So that means that you should be able to say, hey, Rob, you know what? I go to each one of these units and I know that I'm passing each one of these units with an 80% or plus, because at the end of each unit, there's like 5, 10, 20 questions. So you should know I'm going to do 20 questions at the end of each unit and I'm getting 80% or better. And I did the sample exams and I'm getting 80% or better. And I went on your YouTube channel and I watched those videos and I do those quizzes because those are different quizzes and I get it 80% or better. Then you know that you've been doing the work. But I can promise you that if you think you're going to wing it, you're not going to do it. It's too hard to wing it, my friends. So the first option is free, right? because I'm not here to try to make all kinds of money off of you, believe it or not. Of course, I need to make a living just like the rest of us, right? And I need to pay my bills, but I'm here. A very, very big, important part of what I do is to help people. That's what I enjoy doing. So when you've done, when you have done about 58 plus hours of classroom time, you can notify Rob and text or email him a copy of your class log, right? You will be able to schedule an exam time with Rob. He will email you an exam that will have to be done within 3 hours, right? You will email him back an answer sheet. It's as simple as that. Now, if you're like, well, you know what? I didn't do all the units that Rob said, and I didn't do those exams, but I'm tired of dealing with this. I'm just going to try and see. And let's say you notify me, you're like, hey, Rob, I'm sending you over my log. I want to be able to schedule an exam with you. And I say, okay, what time do you want to take it? And you say, how about tomorrow at 2 o'clock? So then I will schedule my email system to send you the exam tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And then you have to email me back an answer sheet within 3 hours. If it's 3 hours and 1 minute, it doesn't count. Now, let's just say you get a 7 because you need to get a 70% or better. And let's say you get a 62 or 65. I'm going to give you a little bit of hard time because I'm going to always have to do that because I'm your coach. I'm your mentor. I can't just always be like, I'm not going to treat you like a marshmallow, right? I'm going to treat you like your coach, like your mentor, and say, all right, that wasn't bad. Let's talk about what you need to work on and blah, 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 blah. But if you get lower than a 60 and you're like, hey, Rob, can I try it again tomorrow? I'm going to say, nope. You're going to be like, well, why? Because you haven't been studying enough. You need to go back. Yep, you need to go back to the table and you need to study. Go ahead.
We're taking an exam by ourselves, like on our computer at home, not like.
Yep.
Oh,
sounds easy, right?
No,
now you
it's
would
definitely
think,
not.
it's not. You would think that everybody would get 100%.
No,
and
I
they
know
could
someone
look
that just failed it.
Well, remember, not the state exam. I'm talking, this is the class exam.
Yeah.
When you do the state exam, you need to go to the state facility. But you see, what I want to do is have you make pretend you're like at the state exam.
Do we have to take the test, your class exam, within a certain amount of time after finishing our 60 hours?
No, but you have to take it within how long? Who knows?
A year or 2 years?
That's right. You got 1 year. So the time that you register the class, that, you know, like I basically go by the day that I sent you the books, right? I send you the welcome email. You know, I say, you know, even if you registered a week or two before then, I go by the day that I sent you the books. You have 1 year to do the 60 hours and to pass the class. Otherwise, there's a restart fee. So to do 60 hours and pass the exam within 1 year should not be hard. And so now this class final, it's going to be 110 questions. Why? Because there's 110 questions on the state exam. You know, there's 80 on the general and 30 on the state. And you have to do the state exam within 2 hours, within 2.5 hours. So I give you 3 hours just to try to make things easier for you. Okay. And to be straightforward with you, when you send me your answer sheet, I'm not going to be like, oh, okay, let me correct this for you. I'm going to send you back the correct answer sheet. Now, I have not found anybody who's played some games with me on this part. So I'm still trusting people, but you're going to correct your own exam. And the reason that I would want you to correct your own exam is because you're going to be like, oh man, number 7 should have been B, and I put down the letter D. So let me look this up and find out what I got wrong and why I got it wrong. You see, I want you to learn as to why you got it wrong. Okay. And so we go back to what I was saying that I was a little bit on a roll with, and I'm happy you guys slowed me down a little bit because I can go on a roll with this one because I've had issues with this before. You get in the 50s, I'm going to make you wait a week or two to take the state exam again. And it's going to be a different exam. And then you don't pass it the second time, I'm going to make you wait a couple of weeks before I give you the third one. Well, can't I just try again tomorrow? No, we're not doing trying. We're not doing winging it. You know, if I'm giving you my pre-licensing certificate from this school, I want to know that you can pass this exam on that moment. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what happened yesterday, but I know that if you pass my state exam at that moment, my class exam, then I know at that moment you could pass a state exam and I did my job. So who has questions about the free? All right, let's talk about number 2. Number 2 is the PSI QBank. So before we even go any further with that, what is it? It's a database with thousands of questions that you can keep using for 6 months initially. Now, if you need more time after that, you can also buy extensions with me, right? The cost is $99. You get it at HTTP real estate school.com. So let's go over there. So I'm going to do a little bit of a new share here just to make sure that you can do this, right? So hopefully you're all going to see my my new share. Do you all see that? All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in here. Anybody know what's that? Oh, you can't see it too well now, but that was a little lion there. Realestateschoolcredits.com. So you see that URL, realestateschoolcredits.com, and then it's going to bring you over to here. So you have to make sure this is the one. Now you might be like, oh, Rob, you know, why do I have to buy this one? Well, the first reason why is because this is the one that I trust. And then full disclaimer, I do make $16 off of this, right? But I'm not going to die if I don't get your $16. This is the one that I trust. I know of people who have even bought the one from PSI and then they failed the state exam, and then come to find out I start asking them more and more and more questions, and the one that they bought was the one that was for North Carolina or something like that, or South Carolina, I forget, one of the South Atlantic states. So this is the one that I know that because remember, you're taking 2 exams. The first one is the general, and how many questions is the general exam? How many questions is general exam? Anyone remember?
I think it was like 80.
80 questions, right? And then the second one, which is from the red book, right, is 30 questions. So you have to make sure you know Connecticut law. So anyways, once you go to realestateschoolcredits.com, you make sure it says, welcome to Rubicon Crossing School of Business. In the middle here, you choose the state under the drop-down Connecticut. Make sure it says salesperson, product type, exam prep, right? And view products. So do you have to do this? Do you have to spend $99? No, you can do the free exam. But if you want to be smart, you get this complete Connecticut Real Estate Drill and Practice QBank, right? And basically it's 2 great tools in one convenient package, offering you 2 distinct QBanks. You can now focus your preparation for the Connecticut real estate license exam on the national and state portions, right? Gives you the power to simulate nearly every test environment. So you start getting used to answering questions on the computer. You can do this on your phone. You can do this on your tablet, right? You can create custom quizzes. So that's what we're going to talk about, according to topics and subtopics. Okay, so if you're like, oh man, today we just went over agency. Let me get all the questions on agency and see how I do. You can do that. Oh, yesterday we went over environmental protection. Let's go over and do all those questions. So you'll be as prepared as possible when you test yourself with thousands of questions on the industry's most advanced interactive testing platform ever created, right? It'll help you pinpoint your problem areas, right? So it's going to let you know, well, what is it that you need to work on? What topics do you need help with? You can, like I said, wherever you are. So maybe it's one of those things where you get a half an hour lunch. Well, you can bring your tablet with you to work and be like, all right, every day I'm going to do 30 questions during my lunch. Every day, oh, I'm waiting 20 minutes for my daughter or son to get out of soccer practice. Let me try this. Let me pull up my phone to do 20 questions really quick, right? And so it's simple as you buying this, and it's good for 6 months. Don't wait. You don't have to wait. If you're going to do this, you should buy it now, because that way, every time you take a class, you can keep doing that class until you get 80% or better. All right. So basically the way this works, okay, is that you are going to, let me go back to our little whiteboard here, right? So with the PSI QBank, right, you get it at the like we said, the realestateschool.com, okay? And so what you're going to do is if you feel that you're ready. So with this one's a little bit different. Okay, we don't necessarily have to wait. So when you feel, or I guess I should say, when you have done about 50 plus hours of classroom time, because remember, you have to do 60 hours of classroom time. But when you've done about 50 hours of classroom time, you can share your log of classes with Rob and let him know you are beginning to complete your school exam. And so what do you have to do? You have to create a custom exam with at least 110 questions. You have to complete it within 2 hours, 45 minutes, and you have to get a 70% or better. That's all you need to do. So you might have to do this 30 times, and it doesn't matter, because you can do it at 11 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 4 in the evening, or in the afternoon. You just keep doing it whenever it's good for you. And when you finally are able to do a quiz with 110 questions within 2 hours and 45 minutes and get a 70% or plus, you send Rob a screenshot. Now, here's the sad part, my friends. So I'm going to say, you send Rob a screenshot of it when done. So here's the sad part. Now, first of all, I'm going to let you know, because I didn't used to let people know, but now I feel like I have to, because I just don't want to deal with the embarrassment of someone trying to forge it, someone trying to basically, I had two people, both I think in 2021, no, maybe one in 2022, but I had two people at different times send me fake screenshots, right? Like, so one of them actually there was a third person who did a different database that was trying to pawn it off. So first of all, I get notified when you buy the PSI QBank. Technically, I have access to it. Am I ever going to go in there? Probably never. My life is too busy than to go and check your scores. Okay. Once in a great while, I have had somebody who says, Rob, I took the state exam twice and I failed it. I don't understand why. And I say, well, are you doing the PSI QBank? They're like, well, you know, kind of. And I'm like, well, what are you getting for scores? Oh, I don't know. And I say, well, why don't we go into your account and look? And I find out they did it like 3 times and got like a 60, a 62, and a 74. You're not passing that way. Right. And then I had a couple of people that, you know, they send me a screenshot and I was like, listen, you didn't buy the PSI QBank. Yes, I did. Show me the receipt. Show me your account. And I can tell that they pawned off a fake screenshot, like they forged a screenshot. So don't think you're going to do that, because that's not going to work. So who has questions about the 2 options to take the class final? And then we're going to keep going forward and talk about what happens after that. Anyone? Come on, no questions at all? All right, so you might want to take a picture of this, or like I said, this is going to be posted as a YouTube video, so you can definitely come back to this. All right. So now what happens after you take my classroom final? You finish it, you pass it with a 70% or better, and then you so you take that final, you pass it, and you do your 60 hours. Who knows what happens after that? Right? So what you're going to do from there is when you have the option to get your completion certificate. So who doesn't love that? Right? So that's when you have the option of either meeting with me, right? I'll meet with you one-on-one. We can have lunch, we can have breakfast, we can have a cup of coffee, and we can go over the next steps. We can go over the PSI bulletin, which will show you every step of the way of what needs to be done. And that's what I go over with you to make sure that you feel 100% comfortable. And we can take a picture so that we can post it and celebrate your victory of the class, because it's important to celebrate wins. Right. And then lastly, if you want to talk about opportunities, and if I feel like it's an important thing for me to do with you because I kind of like your ways, and if you feel important because you kind of like my ways, then that's awesome, and we can maybe do it. But there's no stress, there's no pressure. You can go work for whoever you want to, right? And just know that there is a team like mine that, you know, out of 1.6 million real estate agents, we're ranked in the top 1.5%, and we are ready to help a lot of people and crush all the other agents around us. But that's, you know, I don't want you to take that offensively, right? I don't want you to get scared or nervous about that, okay? But that's what we do, and that's what we try to do. Help as many people as possible and push all the other agents to the side, because we don't have time for them, okay? So anyways, though, but you might be like, well, Rob, I already know who I'm. And the other thing too, I want to make it clear, you know, I have real estate brokers who they trust me to send students to our school. And if that's the case, please don't ask to be on my team. Don't ask for an interview. Don't ask to talk with me, because I'm not about, you know, taking other agents from other brokers. I want you to be happy with this new endeavor. I want you to be excited about it. And I'm very, very appreciative if another real estate agency referred me to you. You know, so I definitely, you know, all jokes aside, I definitely respect that. Okay, because there was a case once where I had somebody that, you know, their broker sent me over and they're like, well, I'd rather come work for you, Rob. I don't really want to go work with them. I don't really even know them too well. And I was like, no, I don't feel comfortable. You know, that's not right. That's not the right thing to do. And I go by the right thing to do. Am I perfect in my life? Of course not, you know, but I really, really strive to do the right thing. So don't be tempting me to do the wrong thing. And I'm not going to name names in this group. All right. So don't be tempting me to do the wrong thing. So that's first off. So, but the whole point is, let's say you're not sure. Well, we can maybe talk about if I think you're a good fit and you think and I'm a good fit. Now, next step is you're going to have my completion certificate and you're going to get an $80 check. Or we have our new online version. So I should take that back. You're going to have $80 prepared. And all that is in this red book, right? So you're going to have $80. You can now do it online. So online, you will be able to download the completion certificate. I can give you electronic version. You should really just scan it in, you know, take a picture of it from your phone so that you have a file. You'll be able to go online and then you'll be able to give your credit card for an application to apply for the state exam. You see, that's not to take the state exam. I had a student a couple weeks ago that she's like, Rob, I got rejected and they said that you're supposed to do this and do this. I said, no. I said, you went right to the state exam. You did not get approved to sit for the state exam because see, the company who creates, administers, and manages the test, that's a company called PSI. So I'm going to give you the website when the time is right? When you've passed the class, we'll give you that website and then you will be able to apply to take the state exam. And remember, what they're going to do is they are going to do a background check on you. Okay. So, well, what are they going to look at? Right? You might be nervous about that. What do you mean they're going to do a background check? Nobody told me that. Oh my gosh, if I knew that, I wouldn't have done this class or DDDD. Well, you know, they're going to do a background check on you. It's not the end of the world, right? And what's the background check about? Well, really, it's double checking to make sure that you're not out there beating up people. Really, it's really out there to make sure you're not out there forging documents, that you haven't been convicted of a felon of forging documents, embezzlement, forgery, embezzlement, maybe some senior citizen financial types of things. So if you're out there ripping people off and you've been convicted, they're not going to, it's a high chance that they're not going to accept your application. You might have to do an appeal. If it was something where you got DWI, God forbid, you know, or maybe you hurt someone by mistake, or maybe you were involved in drugs or weapons or that sort of thing, and it was a little time ago. I mean, I've seen a lot of people that they had those kinds of things and they went through, it still went through. If you have questions about it, the only thing that I can tell you is call the Real Estate Commission for the state of Connecticut, because I really can't give you a good answer. But I know the things that have to do with embezzlement and forgery and those sorts of things will definitely make it a little bit harder for you. So who has questions on that? All right, so well, what's the next step, right? The next step, man, I feel like I'm on one of those commercials with like the collar. This collar is bothering me today. I don't know what it is, right? What's that commercial with the collar? It's like, whoa. That's pretty funny to me. Anyways, so now usually within 2 or 3 weeks after you apply and they do your background check, right, is when now they're going to approve your application. Okay. And so when they approve your application, usually you're going to get a postcard and or email, and it's going to say that you've been approved to take the state exam. And then that's when you're going to go take the state exam. Now, the first time you go, let's see who knows their red book stuff. And these are questions, believe it or not, that could be on the exam. So the first time you go, you're going to be able to take both exams together if you want to. And again, that's the general and the state. And how much is that going to cost you? Who knows? For some of you that have been in class for a while, you should know this. How much? Is it $59, right? So you'll be able to take both for $59. Then if you have to do a retake, right? A retake is going to be $51 for one examination, or if you fail both, okay? And so right now, I do not believe that there is a, limit on the number of times you could take the state exam. I don't think that they put a limit on there, right? So if you fail, you can basically just keep on coming back. But usually I think it's only good right now for 2 years. Right? So each time there's a vendor fee, and I'm looking to see here. I know it's definitely a year at the least amount, right? That you have in order to take the state exam. But remember, when I give you the completion certificate, that's only good for 1 year. So if you come back to me and be like, hey, Rob, it's been 14 months and now PSI said they won't accept my application because it's been more than a year. Can you give me a new completion certificate? Don't think I'm the bad guy, but I have to say no, because in order for my completion certificate to be good, it has to be that you've done 60 hours of classroom time or virtual class, and you have passed my final within the last 12 months. Okay. So who has questions on that?
I got a question on like the actual state exam. You say there's like, obviously it's 2 tests, right? Is it like actually presented to you as 2 separate tests, or is it just like one test with 110 questions mixed up?
Great question. No, it's actually presented as 2 separate tests. So you're going to do the general. Usually most people, you're going to do the general first and you're going to get through it. And, once you kind of get through that, you're going to either put that you want to submit it or not, because maybe you can mark questions to come back to. You have a timer there and so forth. And then you're going to press submit, and it's going to tell you right then and there whether you pass or fail. See, back in the old days in like 2001, when I took this test, does anybody remember those old IBM screens and those old IBM computers and the green screen? So like I sat there and I pressed submit, and the computer for like 20 something seconds was going, right? And I was sitting there waiting like, oh my gosh. And then thank God I passed. But today you press submit, boom, it's going to come up, pass or fail. And you're not going to blame me, because I told you, you got to study. You can't wing it. Let's go. You can do this, right? Like I said, there's no lie when I tell you, as of a couple months ago, there was 1.6 million real estate agents in the United States. So you don't have to think that it's the hardest thing in the world, but you do have to do your studying. Okay. What else kind of questions do you have?
Do you know if the state exam allows you to change your answer once you've chosen it?
Yes. Yep.
'Cause
You
the
can go back.
QBank does not.
Yeah. You can go back and change your answer, which is like, until you press submit. You just have to be careful of that, because everybody knows, like, people who take a lot of tests, that if you get in the habit of changing your answers too much, it just makes you more confused sometimes. But once in a while, you will be like, oh man, this question kind of helped me to remember and realize something else, and I want to go back and change that other one. I think that was question number 17, and you'll be able to go back and change it and so forth. Definitely. What else?
I'm sorry. I had to go get my baby real quick. I'm pretty sure you already said it. So once I'm done doing your exam, how long do I have to wait for the state exam?
Well, then the next step is you apply to take
Uh-huh.
the state exam, and that will usually take like 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sometimes it happens really, really fast though. Like things have changed. You know, for a long time, historically, we would always say 2 to 3 weeks. But sometimes, like I've seen people happen in like 5 days, they got approved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I've seen some people, they got approved within 5 days. Who else?
Thank you.
Any other questions? You're welcome.
I guess to that point, after you get approved, do you just like schedule whatever date and time works for you, and then do they have like a test like 7 days a week, or how does that work?
So I don't know their exact hours, but what there are testing facilities throughout the state. So if you're in central Connecticut, the main one is pretty much in West Hartford. And if you're in like by the coast, I think there's one by Milford. If you're up in Enfield area, there's one by Springfield, right? So those are probably like the 3 closest ones around here. And so what you'll do is when PSI approves the approves you to sit for the state exam, they're going to give you a link, and you're going to go online on this link. You're going to put in your credit card information. You get to spend more money, and then they're going to show you a schedule of the days and times they have available. And sometimes it's really weird where like it'll be like, oh, we have tomorrow at 10 o'clock scheduled, and you might be like, oh, I wish I was ready. And now if I knew this, I would have studied more. Now I can't take my class final until October 30th. I have to wait 2 weeks. Well, you should have been ready. Like, you know, once you finish this, in fact, you could keep coming to class and you should keep on studying. Don't lose the momentum. Don't be thinking you're a smart aleck, right? Some people laugh when I say that. Don't be thinking you're a smart aleck and be like, oh, I'm just going to take a break from this and I'll start studying again once they approve me. Well, all you're doing is hurting yourself. You have the momentum going. You got the juices flowing. So why don't you just keep on studying, keep it going until the day you take that state exam so that you don't have to worry about it. Okay. What other questions do people have? You're gonna see that's a subliminal thing. Hold on. I'll do a subliminal. Hey, who's the best football team? I'll do a subliminal.
Not the Steelers.
So that was a subliminal. It kind of worked, right? Oh man, that's funny. All right. So now you pass the state exam. Here you are. So you see, in your mind, you might be thinking that you always have to do everything start, finish, start, finish. Well, I'm gonna let you guys on a secret. You know, you might not have heard this about me before, but you know, I'm a pimp. Did you know that I'm a pimp? Anybody know what's a PMP? Anybody know? Okay, so you see, if you were in the corporate world, and some of you probably know you don't want to answer that sort of thing, but you know, there's a certain project management certification called PMP, Project Management Professional, right? I mean, like United Health Group, they spent a lot of money to get me certified. And so what I learned as being in project management is you don't have to do everything. I guess I'll start on this side. Start, finish, start, finish, start, finish. You see, because in your mind, you might be thinking, oh, I started the real estate class. Once I finish the real estate class, then I can take Rob's exam for the class. And once I take the exam, I can do the application. Once I get approved, then I could take this, then I can become a real estate agent, right? Way over there, all those months later. Well, I believe in overlapping tasks because I think you can learn faster and you don't have to wait so long to be making some money, right? You don't have to wait so long to be learning what's going on in this industry. So the point is that it's not open for everyone, and I don't go through it in detail during this session, but I do have coaching and mentoring programs, right? Where if you're that right person and you want to start learning real estate and you want to make a commitment to me and my team, we will begin opening up the doors to you and you can get on this accelerated process. You see, that's one of the things about my class. So my class, if you look at everything we've done here and everything we're doing, and why I believe some of the reasons we're better than everybody else is because we have a rotating schedule. It's been going on for 16 years. I was one of the first schools to have the rotating schedule, right? I learned this from a school in Minnesota. Rotating schedule. I have a flexible payment plan, right? You didn't have to pay all up front if you didn't want to. I have a flexible schedule. You come when you can, you come when you want. And I have an accelerated program that, yes, you have to make a commitment. I mean, it doesn't necessarily cost you money, but you do have to make a commitment. And if you make that commitment, you are able to begin learning about real estate quicker and faster so that you can have a closing faster, so that you can start going on open houses and learning about them. So that if you want to start going on showings, if you want to start calling people and talking with them, you learn how to do this stuff so that when the time comes that you actually get your license, you're like 20-30% ahead of the game. You're not starting at zero. So if that's something that you want to do, all you need to do is reach out to me and we'll have a cup of coffee or breakfast or lunch, and we will go over that. So remember, because when the day comes and you get your certification that you passed the exam, you know, is that like, okay, now I'm going to go look for a brokerage to work with? Well, you just wasted a lot of time, right? And if you were to do that, you might not have a closing until like next March. No lie, because, you know, here we are, it's November. I mean, you know, it's October 16th. Isn't it crazy how it's basically November? And a couple of months is going to go by the time you take the test and pass it and and then you start learning real estate. That's going to take like a couple, 2-3 months just to get started. And now you're talking about maybe having a closing in March or April. Whereas if you're with me, if you're that right person, you know, and what's the right person? Anybody have an idea? What's number one? Honesty, integrity, right? I'm not going to deal with people telling fibs. I'm not going to deal with people not being straight up. Then the second thing is attitude. You know, I want to be with people, surrounded by people that are positive, that are motivated, that are excited, that would like to have some fun together and like to work hard together. Because what we do is help people every day. We don't constantly think about the money. We think about the client. We think about the person, how they're feeling, how we can help them, what questions they might have, and that sort of thing. All right. So does anybody have any other questions or things they want to add to that?
So I know, so obviously you're talking about this whole, like, while you're taking the class, you can do this with you and everything else. Obviously it's like your class. So I'm just wondering, like, in general, let's say anyone wanted to like potentially talk to a different brokerage or whatever, would brokerages normally talk to people that are like in the middle of taking their classes still? And like with the prospect that they're going to get their license soon enough and like potentially get them kind of like in that same type of program thing that you're talking about, or just in general, like kind of be like, oh yeah, like once you officially get it, like come back and we will sign something type of deal, or like, how does that work?
I mean, I'm not here to disparage any other brokers, but I know that, you know, that again, that's why I talk about my flexibility and what I do different. My accelerated program includes this. Most other brokers, like, you know, this is a business where you don't get paid hourly. You don't get paid salary. When you have a closing, that's when you will get paid. And you're really, I want to say it the right way, you know, because I don't want to disparage other brokers. But the truth is that if you don't have your license, what can they really do with you?
Yeah.
Right. And there's no necessarily plan, you know, I don't know of any brokers that have this that I have, you know, that have this accelerated program that I have. So, you know, it's one of the things that I think, you know, of course, hey, I don't want to discourage you. You might be like, well, you know what, Rob, you know, I had my eyes set on this other company, so that's what I'm going to go talk with. Well, yeah, go talk with them. If you're stuck on them, then that's okay. I understand. Right. Now, the other thing, to make it clear, because I think this is important, you know, kind of brings up things that maybe we didn't talk about. This is not, we can help you regardless of your geographic location. You know, I talked to one of my agents today. He's in Willimantic. For years, I had an agent in Waterbury. They don't have to come to Hartford or Berlin or wherever our office is at that moment. You can work for our office, for my team, as long as you have a license in Connecticut. You can work wherever you want to work. If you're in Stamford, if you're in Norwalk, if you're in Willimantic, New London, Madison, Enfield, Litchfield, Putnam, and everywhere in between. So don't think like, well, I'm just going to go to my local office, because it's not necessarily going to be the one that's going to help you. Right. So it depends on what you're looking for. We offer rigorous coaching, training, mentoring. Every other day, we're pretty much together for at least about an hour, give or take. Well, you know, Mondays and Wednesdays, and then sometimes on Fridays, depending on your scenario and your schedule. And then we can do one-to-ones every 2-3 weeks as well. Right. So these are the things that we do. So that's important to mention as well. Now, when you finally get set up with a brokerage, right, I want to tell you, most of the brokerages are about the same. We all like to say, even when I had my own real estate company for about 13 years. Right. And there's a story as to why I'm now with Berkshire. But, you know, I love being with Berkshire. I love having my team, basically Berkshire bought my company. So I love having my team, my company with Berkshire. So what was I going to say that? So we're all, even when I had my company, we all pretty much have the same tools. Right? We all pretty much have the multiple listing service. We like to say, well, my texting system is better than theirs, and our video system is better than theirs, and we have a better website because we offer this, which is better than theirs. But when it comes to the big guys like us, like Berkshire and some of their competitors, we all pretty much have about the same things, and we all offer about the same sort of money. The big thing to think about is, well, what are you going to get for coaching, training, support? Who are you going to get that's really going to be there to help you? Do you have a mastermind group in play with them, or are you going to feel like you're on your own island? So that's an important thing to realize. Now, once you get set up with a brokerage, the first thing you're going to have to do usually, I don't know any brokers that pay for this, is that you're going to have to pay for your first year of salesperson's license. So how much is that first year of salesperson's license? Who knows? These are red book questions. So if you don't know this, you need to go back to your red book. Hopefully, maybe you didn't do the unit yet, and that's okay. But if you already done unit 10 in the red and you don't know this, you're at a disadvantage. Anybody know? It's $305. And the reason for that is $20 of that is what? Who knows what that $20 is for?
Guarantee fund?
The guarantee fund. And that's guarantee fund is for what? What's that guarantee fund for? That basically funds the guarantee fund, that if someone makes a mistake, right, and somebody has a Department of Consumer Protection complaint, that will fund that. Okay, so it's $285 plus 20, which is $305. So you need to save that money up, like starting now. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I just passed my real estate exam, but I didn't know I was going to have to pay all this money. Well, that means you weren't listening during class, right? Because I'm going to tell you right now here, how far are we into the class? We're 52 minutes into the class. And 52 minutes into the class means that it's going to cost you about $1,800 a year to be a real estate agent. Now, it's not like you are going to, and that's minimum. It's not like you're going to be like once a year, here's $1,800. But I can promise you, like every 2-3 months, there's a new fee of something to pay. You know, every couple of months, oh, this is the 6-month fee for the electronic e-key. Couple months later, oh, this is the 6-month fee for the MLS. Couple months later, oh, this is the annual fee for the Connecticut Association of Realtors, National Association of Realtors, Greater Harvard Association of Realtors. A couple months later, oh, this is my fee for E&O insurance. Oh, this is my fee for this. This is my, so every couple of months, fees will come up. So if you're not prepared that you don't have at least about $1,000 when you take the state exam, you're going to find that maybe you're going to have a hard time with a brokerage, because these brokerages, they're not going to pay for those basic fees for you. You know, there's some brokerages that are going to give you some things here and there, like we will give you some things. You know, we'll buy your first set of business cards, we'll buy you your signs. You know, there's a whole list of things that we will do for you, but we don't pay for people's Connecticut licensing fees, and we don't pay for the MLS fees and that sort of thing. Now, if you are really into, well, I want somebody who's going to pay everything for me, because that's the kind of person that I am, right? So I know this guy that he'll pay everything for you, and he'll probably tell you that he's going to give you like 97% commission split, and he wears a really shiny suit out of like the Waterbury area, and you'll sign up with him, and that'll be like the last time you see him. And you'll be wondering how to do real estate and how to fill out a contract and how to talk to people and how to sell and buy and all that good stuff. So if that's the kind of person you want, you just let me know. I'll put you in touch with them. But you really, as being a new agent, I can promise you that you really, really want to find that person that you can relate to, that you feel comfortable with, that you're going to have some fun with, that you are going to learn the business with. Okay. What else? What other questions do you maybe have? All right, continuing ed, remember that's going to have to be done on even years, but you don't have to do it for the first cycle when you get your license. You'll learn more about continuing ed, kind of looking at my list here. Remember, annually, every May 31st is when you have to pay your renewal every year. So even though continuing ed is every other year, right? You have to renew your license every year. I think that's about it.
I got a question on that actually.
Yeah.
You're saying May 31st. Let's say you get your license in January and you've only been having it for 4 months and you pay fees. Do you pay like all the fees like when you first get it and stuff like that? And then when May 31st or whatever comes up, would you have to repay things? Or is it like, how does that work?
So when it comes to the state, I believe is only like a 1 or 2 month thing there, where if, you know, I think if you get your license, I'm just going to pretend like in April or May, they won't recharge you May 31st. Right. But if it's like January, the state does not. As far as I know right now, I mean, I've seen it happen. They do not prorate. There are some other fees that they will prorate, you know, like the National Association of Realtors fees or the Connecticut Association of Realtors fees, the Greater Hartford Association of Realtor fees. They will do some prorations, but they won't do that right now for the Connecticut salesperson's fee. Good question though, right? Because yeah, it kind of stinks, right? You get your license in January, maybe you're not even going to have a closing by May, or maybe you have one closing and then you got to make your payments again. But yeah, that's the business. But remember, I mean, it's a great business. I don't want to make it into a negative thing, but there are fees involved, and so those things can get a little bit hefty after a while. Any other questions?